What has been Phil Spencer and Jim Bryant's strengths and weaknesses this generation? Oh, bad. All right, let's start with Phil Spencer. Strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with Carlos first. Just go with Phil Spencer. Strengths and weaknesses.
I think his it's funny with him because I think his biggest strength is his biggest weakness. He appeases to the people. He's sort of a man of the people in a lot of ways, at least compared to old Jimbo over there. But I think that's also his biggest weakness because I think they cave in too easily. If they have a vision of something, it's important to stick to it, even when you face criticism. If you believe it that thoroughly, and you're so you believe in this vision, you got to stick to it, even if you get a lot of criticism. Obviously, they have had their hiccups, but also, like for example, the whole Halo situation. That was a time where listening to the people actually was important and actually made sense, and actually at the end of the day probably saved the game, because Cyberpunk took the brunt of all of the collective hate of games that released that weren't ready. It would have been Halo even before that, if that would have happened. So yeah, and also Jim Ryan, right? Or is it just Phil Spencer?
Jim Ryan. You could go. Yeah, go to him. You go to him next if you want.
Jim Ryan. His biggest strength is that he lives in an ivory tower and is out of touch, and has a funny accent.
Can't make fun of the man's accent, man.
I'm trying to find more things. There's so many. He's just out of touch with the fan base. He's out of touch with the state of gaming in general. I feel like he's a businessman and not a gamer. Kind of like, Phil Spencer, I feel like whenever he speaks, I feel like I'm hearing things from a gaming perspective more than a business perspective. And Jim Ryan is the complete opposite. And I think that's the biggest issue with that. Jim's best strength, I guess, is I don't know, maybe his business acumen. Like, it's kind of they all go both ways, because I mean, at the end of the day, and this is and Sony fanboys and Sony ponies like to toss this in every time you criticize the company, or Jim Ryan in general. They're like, but the company's doing well. It's making profits. It's
stupid argument, man.
It's a stupid argument. And yeah, his bottom line is to make as much profit as possible, and he's doing a good job. He's just not appeasing the people who pay for these things.
Yeah.
So, that's what I would say for both.
All right, Manny. Sorry, Phil Spencer first.
Phil Spencer. I think a lot of his greatest strength is the communication ability, where essentially this sort of goes back to the old history of Xbox in general, where they're the underdog, they're the sort of like, hey, we're one of you sort of marketing speech, which tends to work. I think it's definitely a big difference. It's definitely a big difference from the ivory tower version of Xbox, when like, what's his face was there after their success with the Xbox 360. You notice that the new guy that steps in after the big successful console always ends up being the jerk.
Man.
And anyway, so I would say that's his biggest strength, and it's able. And it seems like he's actually. You remember how we also said about Phil is like, he's sort of playing, coming down from what happened with
Don
the previous
Matrick,
guy, with the Don Matrick stuff, all the bullshit that came with that. So now I would say this is his moment where he's actually sort of like, okay, now all the different things that he's been trying to set in motion have started to set in motion. The Game Pass and all this other stuff. Now he's putting a lot of into the actual development. Again, a very sort of old Sony way of doing things. My only question with him is there has been a lot of waiting, and I would say that was the biggest weakness of all of a lot of the strategy. We're not seeing a lot of it. We're just seeing a lot of potential, but not really a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
And whether that is his fault or or whatever else is going on, just I feel like that is the biggest chink in that whole armor. And then again, once the flood, comes, will it be enough to take Microsoft to that, or Xbox to the level that it might be or potentially will be? Well, again, it's like the whole, hey, wait till E3 sort of talk. We're still waiting. We're still waiting to hear something. Still waiting to see something. Jim Ryan, I would say I'm going to start with actually his biggest weakness, and his biggest weakness is the opposite of Phil Spencer, is communication to the base, to the gamers themselves. He is talking over everybody. In other words, he's not talking at your level. He's talking over you. He's standing over you, and he's just giving it all over your head. And he's not taking the time to look down and see who's actually standing there, unlike what it seems like Spencer is doing. And I think that's his biggest problem. And then, yes, I also agree with Carlos. His other weakness is that it seems like he's out of touch. He doesn't understand the actual gaming side of things, where mostly it seems like he's looking at the business side of things. All of the decisions that seem to be being made right now seem to be just business decisions, closing off all of the closing off the ability to buy and rent movies on your PlayStation, closing down the old PlayStation and Vita, the PlayStation 3 and Vita stores and PSP stores, not making a true investment into the legacy, because he feels like, why would anybody want to play any of those old games anyway? Quote, he said.
Yep.
And then now I don't want to put the rumors in there, but there's also that, where essentially they seem to be focusing mostly on these sorts of mostly these specific tent poles that have already done well, as opposed to sort of testing out different things and seeing what sticks, like the old Sony the old PlayStation would have done. So and again, like, just totally moving away from the tradition of the way the company did, the thing that made the company the success it is today, and going to that sort of hubris way of thinking, kind of like you want to go back, like I said, kind of like the way old Microsoft was after 360, kind of like the way Sony was after PlayStation 2. Every single time these guys try to double down on being big business, it always shoots them in the foot. There you go.
Adam. Start with Phil Spencer. Strengths and weaknesses.
I don't know if it's his strength is just coming off very genuine. That's his strength. He comes off very believable. If he's a liar, he's a damn good liar. So that's it. I look at him like, damn, Uncle Phil, you coming over for turkey? Because you are legit. We could be boys. He seems so happy, so happy-go-lucky. Like, people could be rattling all this shit on the internet. They said this, they said that. How do you feel? He's like, you want to come over and have some cheesecake? I mean, things are good. So I think that's his strength. And the weakness is, I don't know if it's so much of a weakness. It's just wrong place, wrong time. Just playing cleanup. And people are always going to second guess. And so he's got to play that whole thing. So I don't know. It's hard to see that as a weakness, but I think it's just it. Yeah, this whole time, like we've talked about before, that if this console generation fails, it's all on him. But it's all the shit that he has to clean up. But he's always going to be seen as the Microsoft guy. Oh, you're the blame for everything, when he's still playing cleanup. That's it. So we'll see how that goes. And I see that. And for the other dude, there is no strength. He's evil. He is he's the corporate monster. I mean, if there's people that like conspiracies, and I'll throw in a real crazy one. He is a plant from Microsoft. They purposely sent him over there. They made sure he got the job. They are doing all this shit.
He's been at Sony since the beginning, man.
It's a long-term plant. Long-term, okay? This is how it works. You start from the beginning. It's like,
from the mailroom.
Agent. Yeah, it's like a sleeper agent type thing, and then he gets that.
Damn, Hail Hydra, man, fuck.
Yeah, that's it. And they're like Halo Reach, and he just activates, and he's just like turn everything off, kill it, and the servers disconnect. They're like, what are you talking about? And he runs into the server room and just unplugs shit. This is it. He's there's nothing good with this man. Maybe he has a nice suit. I've seen him in a nice suit. Besides that. And that's probably somebody dressing him. He maybe shows up in like a flannel, and they're like, "Here, put this suit on," and then go and tell everybody the bad news. Do it. There's nothing good about him. He hasn't shown any good qualities.
So bad.
So it's all bad. It's all bad.
All right, my turn. Phil Spencer. Yeah, like you guys said, his best attribute is that he's like personable, right? Like you see this dude. You want to hang out with him. You want to have a beer with him because he looks like Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn knows how to get down, So like Phil Spencer gets down too. So, and I like the fact that he's on Twitter. He listens to the fans, Sometimes he gets a little too personal with fans. I'm like, yo, why are you talking to some of these toxic assholes? But I like that. I like the fact that he's out there talking to the people, and that, like, again, you can see yourself just hanging out with this dude, having cheesecake, like Adam said, The weaknesses, like you guys said, is like, yeah, he's a little bit of he's trying to be too nice to everybody. He's like, he doesn't want to upset anybody. He doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. I get that, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you gotta like stick with something and just go with it. But I think overall he's doing a pretty good job with what he has. But I will say this though, because people always say, oh, he's still doing cleanup. He's been the head of Xbox for like 7 years now, bro. Like that Don Matrix shit is a way in the past now. It's all but this is
people keep blaming him for shit though. They keep saying, "Well, remember when they did this?" I was like, "Yeah, but he wasn't in charge then." So stop bringing it up.
No, you're right about that. But this is fully Phil Spencer's game to win or lose.
Now it is. This is it.
Now it is. This is all Phil Spencer right now. Jim Ryan, his I mean, I guess from a business standpoint, his strength is he's keeping the company going. He's, PlayStation is profitable right now, very, very profitable amid all this bullshit. So I guess that you could kind of maybe sort of give him credit for that, but
no, has he had time to run it in the ground?
I'm clutching at straws here because I'm kind of with Adam. I'm like, I don't think this guy has any good attributes, man.
He hasn't shown anything good.
He hasn't managed to bankrupt the company yet.
Yeah, there you go.
The PS4 was a success, so it was just common knowledge. Everyone already planned on picking up the 5 because the 4 was great.
Yeah, so and that was the other guys. That was the other guys.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other two. So.
But the weakness is, like I said, this guy's not even on social media. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care what you guys say, man. He just wants to put this up there, and he knows you guys are suckers. You're gonna buy this shit, So yeah. I understand he's been with Sony forever, but not in a position of power. He needs to be given the window seat like Shuhei. I'm sorry, he is not good for the company, man. Keeping it real,
one thing I do realize about Shuei's position. Shuei's position is the one most creative part of the company for one reason. He gets to work with the indie department, which is essentially like the way the old Japan studio was, the worldwide studio was, where essentially they give them the funding and they create something. They let the artists do what they do, kind of like the way Sony Music used to do their when they used to give contracts for that stuff. So my guess is that I think if he had a choice to leave or stay, he probably took that position because it most resembled what he thought the company was, what was the strength of the company.
Yeah. All right, Brett, Phil Spencer.
Like you guys said, he's easy to talk to. He comes across as very I don't know, non-threatening isn't the word to use. Like he's the guy that everybody's trying to be when they're trying to fucking calm down a situation, whether it be, you know, angry fanboy friends or, you know, a fucking distraught breakup person. He's just the guy that, you know, that's okay, calm down, let's all just chill out. You know, like I said, we'll have some cheesecake and, you know, everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. And I'll agree that the problem with that is that sometimes you don't need cheesecake. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you to shut the fuck up and line up. And he doesn't really seem able to do that. Case in point, I think that he's really good at playing the long game, at doing something because it's going to eventually pay off, not necessarily because he wants it to pay off right now or expects it to. And he'll even sit patiently and not really say anything and just try and let the fruits of his labor grow. The problem is that doesn't always work. I can tell you as a tattoo artist, sometimes if you don't tell people something, they're just never going to fucking get it. So I think he's done really good in the sense of like quietly garnering studios. I mean, we knew that Microsoft was collecting studios for a while now, but you know, it's just been in like the last year that it's really shown how much. And it's weird. We all knew the amount of studios. We knew who they had, but all of a sudden, you know, maybe it's just the Bethesda thing as the cherry on top, but it seems like they're gathering studios, and that's exactly what Microsoft needs to be doing right now. That's what everybody's been saying they needed to do, and they've been doing this for years. So hopefully we'll start seeing the results of that pretty soon, because it's going to take at least 4 years to get anything out of any of these studios that you make, and you're probably helping to reorganize some of them, putting budget into some of them, so that's all going to slow stuff down too. So I would expect to have seen a couple of things out by now, but honestly, I think he's playing the long game, and I think garnering studios, there's not really a way to go wrong with that. So I got to
buy them.
That's what I'm saying. Like good long-term vision, man. And it sucks because, you know, as you're the basic head of the gaming division, you know, it seems like you're not doing a lot, and a lot of people are going to be like, "Bah, you're doing nothing. You're just being a nice guy. You're not doing anything." Nobody sees your game plan, but you can't really scream from the rooftops, "We're buying studios," because you said everything you can, and now you're just arguing with angry fanboys. So I got to give him that. It's more than just, oh, he's a nice guy and he can say things. I think he plans for the long game and sets up the dominoes to fall in such a way. I don't think he's very good at communicating that he's set up all these dominoes, though. So it really doesn't seem like he's doing anything, and it kind of falls into that one line in one Futurama episode: when you do everything right, it's like you've not done anything at all. So, you know, he's just a friendly guy that seems to really, you know, want to boost his, you know, wave his flag and boost his studios and his brand and everything like that. But I think he is actually doing stuff. Jim Ryan, his strongest asset would be using his own anal glands as hair gel.
Damn. Wow.
I mean, he can get he can shove his head all the way up his own ass. I mean, down to the collarbone, which is impressive. So you have to at least admire the dexterity there. As for actually doing any physical good, he hasn't. And he hasn't. In fact, I would say that he has done negative good. Like, just having that asshole in a meeting inevitably makes the meeting worse, even if he doesn't say anything. He's just the essential fucking corporate douchebag, almost 80s guy. And I don't appreciate him moving into our hobby and bleeding it dry so he can have a fucking golden parachute on his way out and build a second goddamn pool. Like, I don't there's not a good reason for doing what he's doing other than let's make more money at the sacrifice of today. And that doesn't do anybody any good. Doesn't do Sony any good. Doesn't do the gamers any good. The only person that does good is Jim Ryan. So I got to say, just in every way possible, fuck that guy.
Tell me how you really feel, bro.
Holy shit.
Chris.
Everything here is immediately the fucking. I'm playing on a PlayStation 5 now with no games. Whose fucking fault is that? It's directly his fault.
All right, Chris, go ahead, man.
I'd say Phil Spencer has had to fight an uphill battle with not only cleanup, but he's part of a larger company that his department is really the smallest, weakest part of it. And he has struggled to not only keep it alive and viable in the large ecosystem of Microsoft, and Microsoft is known for dumping or, kind of marginalizing those parts of it that they don't feel do well, or that they're not interested in. And he's managed to do very well and bring it some moderate success. Of course, he could do better. So he's made some large moves lately, and it takes years for that to pan out. And we'll see this gen if it pans out. But I think he's done a good job. And someone pointed out I think Manny pointed out he's a good communicator. I agree with that 100%. He also keeps his finger on the pulse. He's on social media. He interacts with people. So those are all good qualities you want to see, that in terms of customer outreach, that the head of the product you're supporting and stuff, that you want to know that they support you in some way. I'm not saying that they have to listen to everything you say, but that they're in touch with the customer needs and they know what your needs are, and that they seem to be actively addressing them, right? So with Jim Ryan, I give him no credit. I think he has zero business acumen. I think he's the typical short-term game guy who will bail out of a company as soon as he's fulfilled his stock trigger and he gets his bonus. I think if he brings PlayStation right down, I think he'll bail. I don't see anything positive about his management style, his decisions. There's nothing about him that's genuine, and he's a very much a top-down guy, and he's very much communicates that way not only to probably internal people and not only to developers, even third-party guys, but also to customers, that he knows what's best for us. So fuck him. I think he's awful, and I hope he leaves.
There you go, man. Well said. All right, I think that's going to be a Throwdown clip.